So this is not a typical BookTube video with bookish content. I just wanted to give everybody a health and life update in the past year. So if you're not interested in watching me talk about my last year health-wise and possibly life-wise, if you're not interested in hearing health details, then I agree you can turn off the video and go watch something else with some bookish content. But I wanted to be transparent, and I also wanted to hopefully answer some of your questions and address some of your really sweet, supportive comments. So if you're going to continue watching, thank you. Hey BookTube, it's Kim at Middle of the Book March. And as I said, today's video is going to be very, very different. I don't have any bookish content. What I wanted to do is give you a glimpse in my life in the past year. And primarily I wanted to talk to you about what my last year has been like after gastric bypass. So if anybody has been watching my channel for a while, you may remember a little over a year ago, actually it was quite a bit, it was more than a year ago, I talked about the fact that I was going for gastric bypass surgery or bariatric surgery. And I did that October 4th of 2023. So it's a little over a year later. So I wanted to give you the update on that. A lot of you have asked questions and have been extremely supportive and complimentary. So I wanted to talk to you a little bit about that and tell you what the last year has been like. There may be a little TMI if you're not interested in that. I will talk about some of my health topics. Nothing too graphic, so I completely understand if you don't want to watch the video. So let me start talking about that. So come to March of 2023, and my light's going to go in and out because the sun is in and out, in case you've just noticed that change in lighting. But March of 2023, I got to a point where I wasn't controlling my diabetes well enough, and I could have been, but it's not easy. I have been overweight since probably 12 to 13 years old. I was always a pretty tall and bigger kid, but by the time I got to 12 to 13, I basically became food addicted and sugar addicted. I had a mom who was sugar addicted, so I had a built-in enabler. And my mother died with very advanced complications from diabetes. About 12 years ago. And watching her go through what she went through, I determined I never wanted to have to deal with any of the things that she had dealt with. So gastric bypass became something that I started to think about. In March of last year, I went to my first information session. And it's a very long process. This is not a decision that anybody makes lightly, and certainly I did not make this lightly. So it started at the very end of March. You are required to go to information sessions, 3 of them. You are required to immediately talk to a nutritionist. You are required to sit down with a bariatric surgeon, and my collar is messed up here. You are required to get 1 psychological evaluation. You are required to go and see a nurse practitioner. That you are required to take many, many, many lab tests. Because of some other health concerns I had, I was also required to get echocardiogram, and also to get a mammogram and a gynecological checkup. So I had so many doctor's visits, and they were all required. And at any time along the process, I could have said, I'm not interested anymore. It's too much. So from March, the very end of March until October 4th, which is April, May, June, July, August, September, a little over 6 months was the length of the whole process. And along the way, they are very clear with you as to what the side effects could be, as to what the weight loss goals should be, as to what the weight loss outcomes could be. They talk to you at length about the type of surgeries and what the surgical process is like. They talk to you about preparation for surgery and recovery from surgery. So it's called bariatric surgery, and there are several different types. The type I chose was gastric bypass. And the reason I chose that was because I had the higher chance of losing more weight, which is what I was most interested in order to control diabetes. This was not purely about looks for me, and it wasn't purely about simply losing weight to look better or to have a smaller body. This was to control my health and to put diabetes into remission. That's one of the biggest positive side effects of bariatric surgery. So I chose gastric bypass surgery after talking at length with my doctors and with my surgeon, and he very patiently mapped out all of the different types of surgery. There are 3 primary types, and one of the other most popular surgeries is gastric sleeve. The big difference is, and if you don't want to listen to surgical discussion, that's okay. Here's where I'm going to start a little bit of that. Gastric sleeve surgery is when they go in and they create a much smaller stomach, and they actually remove out of your body a large section of your stomach, and they reroute your stomach to go straight into your small intestines, something like that. It reroutes your digestive system. So what that does is it doesn't allow you to eat a large amount of food, and it doesn't allow you to eat and drink at the same time and keep food in your stomach to absorb. It passes through very quickly. So there is a mandatory rule that you can't eat large portions of food. You have to eat little portions at a time, very small portions at a time, in order for your body to absorb the nutrients. Gastric bypass is what I chose, and what that does is it creates a tiny stomach about the size of a large egg, and the portion of your stomach that they cut is retained in your body, and they reroute your digestive system, and I don't have all of the details, similarly to a gastric sleeve, but they don't actually remove that other portion of your stomach. There's a few benefits to that. If I required correction surgery, I would still have that in my body that can be used as any type of correction I would need. And gastric bypass, as I said, also has the probability that you would lose more weight. And it's also kind of not the surgery of choice, but for somebody like me with diabetes and wanting to avoid complications, it is far more likely to put diabetes into remission. The other drawback of gastric sleeve surgery, and it can cause severe heartburn and acid reflux. And I honestly did not want to have to deal with that. So I chose the surgery that was right for me. Now, after all of the information, the doctor's visits, the surgical consultations, you get a whole binder filled with material. They tell you all the worst that could happen. They tell you some of the things that are not pleasant about life after surgery. They want to be very honest with you. If you choose to have this surgery, these are the things you may have to deal with. So they don't pull any punches. And they also advise you go online, and if you find, they actually give you tips of different websites and different YouTube videos and channels. They give you reading material. They recommend that you join an online support group. So there's so much that goes into this major life decision. And along the way, I took everything one step at a time. By the time I was done with all of the visits, I was committed to having the surgery 100%. And the only other surgery in my life I ever had was an emergency C-section with my youngest daughter, my teenager. So I was very, very terrified or extremely anxious about going into surgery yet again. I actually did have carpal tunnel surgery, but that was pretty minor. So I was very worried about that. My family was mostly supportive. My oldest daughter was terrified that I was going to be malnourished. And there were many people in my life, including my boss at the time, who said to me, I don't want you to get this surgery. You don't need to. And I took everybody's input, and we had conversations. Most people thought you don't weigh enough to have to do surgery, because a lot of people's preconceived notions are that you have to be morbidly obese to go for bariatric surgery. And that's what we stereotype as for people who should get gastric bypass surgery. But I weighed enough so that my BMI was high enough. My BMI was on the low end of what is required and to be eligible for surgery, but I was still eligible. And because I have diabetes, that's a comorbidity is what it's called. And there's also others that other people deal with, whether it's stomach issues, whether it's endocrine issues, whether it's sleep apnea, whether it's a lot of other things that make you eligible, along with the higher BMI, to get bariatric surgery. So my surgery was scheduled for October 4th. It's an overnight stay in the hospital, and the surgery this day and age is purely laparoscopic. It's extremely less invasive, very fast, robotic. I had 4 very small incisions in my abdomen. Each of them was less than an inch long, and I can barely see them anymore. There was very little pain after surgery. It felt like very tight muscles after doing 200 sit-ups. There was no actual incision pain. They give you very detailed instructions how to take care of your incisions. I never had an issue with that. The biggest drawback after surgery was exhaustion. Any surgery is extremely tiring. So I recovered very quickly. After 2 weeks, I was thinking I was okay to go to work, and surgery-wise, I was fine to work. It was just the exhaustion. So I did go back to work twice a week in the office after 2.5 weeks, and it was very tiring. But in the 3rd week, I could go back half days every day, and by the 4th week, I was back to work full time. And again, it was a lot of tiredness, but very slowly it improved until, a month and a half after surgery, I felt pretty normal. That's when the weight started falling off. Now, the weight fell off a little bit before surgery. I did lose, 12 or 13 pounds before surgery. And they told me to stop losing weight because I was going to make myself ineligible. I fortunately had the type of insurance that paid for the entire process, all the visits and the surgery. So what happened in the year after surgery? The weight fell off very quickly, very drastically. And for the first 6 weeks after surgery, you can only drink protein shakes. The biggest life changes from surgery for the rest of your life, you need to eat high protein, 0 sugar if you can help it, 0 processed foods. At the time, it was low fat. And there's very, very tight restrictions on what you can eat. So for 6 weeks after surgery, I could only drink protein shakes. That's why weight comes off very, very quickly. And then as your abdomen heals, you start adding soft foods, and then you start adding less soft foods, and so on and so on. And so in the first 6 months after surgery, I think I lost 60 pounds. And so that was visually very drastic. It was encouraging to me because I almost immediately felt better. Immediately after surgery, they took me off of some of my diabetes medications. I was on multiple medications. I was taking insulin by injection. I was taking multiple pills for different things. And the day after surgery, they took me off of a pill for diabetes. And in the weeks after that, I went down in a blood pressure medication and a cholesterol medication, which is preventative for somebody of my age. Eventually, I went off of another medication very quickly. You get loaded up on vitamins. I will take a bariatric vitamin and multiple calcium supplements every day for the rest of my life, which is absolutely fine. There's no drawbacks to those. And I started to go drastically down in insulin. Right the day after surgery, they also put me to a level of insulin that was almost at 0. And I was completely fine. My sugar levels dropped like a stone. So 6 months after surgery, I was basically eating regular foods, tiny, tiny amounts. And there are certain foods I can't and don't want to eat anymore. I rarely eat pasta anymore, which was one of my favorite foods. I rarely eat the really sugary frosting covered sweets I loved. I can eat cake and I can eat desserts. It has to be tiny amounts and it can't be very often. I don't like to eat regular bread, white bread especially, because it's like a sponge and it takes away any space for actually healthy foods. And a lot of those foods make me feel ill. Ice cream I can have in very small amounts, but it very, very quickly makes me feel sick. The only food that I was highly addicted to that I can't eat in the quantities were those highly processed sugary foods. And I don't know what the chicken or the egg is, diabetes or sugar addiction. I'm not sure which came first. High sugar consumption can bring out diabetes. And I suspect that at childhood and most of my adulthood, eating those types of sugars definitely brought something on. Sorry, my doorbell just rang. That never happens. FedEx. I'm not sure where I left off, but let me continue. So there's a lot of foods that I no longer eat. And if I choose to, they are in tiny, tiny amounts, maybe the amount of a golf ball, just so I can treat myself. So these days I eat a lot of protein. I eat a lot of vegetables. I drink water all day. I don't drink carbonated drinks anymore. I don't drink caffeinated coffee. I do drink decaf coffee. And one of my favorite things to drink is a very large insulated water bottle with one caramel protein drink and ice, and I put decaf coffee in that. And it tastes exactly like a really delicious coffee drink. So different things like that. I eat a lot of chicken. I eat a lot of tuna fish. I do eat beef. I eat a lot of beans. I eat a lot of things with protein in it, combined with vegetables, a lot of beans. I love legumes, that type of thing. So my life after surgery, I am 100% thankful that I decided to do it. And I said along the way that I wasn't really going to talk about pounds lost and weight, but I am here because I wanted to very quickly just be honest with you. I'm not going to tell you how much I weighed or what I weigh now, but I am going to say from the end of March until now, I've lost a total of 95 pounds. And I just had my 1-year checkup a little over a month ago, and they told me that I lost 99% of my excess weight. And when you go into surgery, they tell you anywhere from 70 to 80% is a normal amount of excess weight you can expect to lose. And so that makes me a bariatric overachiever. I lost 99% of my excess weight. I actually lost a little too much. And I spoke to my nutritionist and she brought me up to a calorie level that is a much better one for me to maintain the weight that I'm comfortable at. I actually gained a few pounds back because I felt uncomfortable. And I do not want to be skin and bones. And there are days when I look at myself and I think I could afford and benefit from gaining a little bit of weight. You know, I could gain up to 10 pounds and still be extremely healthy. And it's sometimes very disconcerting to be the size that I'm at, to wear the clothes that I wear, because my entire adulthood, I was wearing plus size clothes and I was having difficulty just going into any store to buy something to wear. I had energy issues. I could not sleep through the night. I was waking up 3 and 4 times a night, usually to go to the bathroom. Now I sleep through the night. I wake up in the morning and I am not exhausted. I have energy through the day. I go to bed at a normal time of night. I feel stronger. I feel like I can do more. I can go into any store that I want to and buy something that will fit me. And that's very, very different. And that's the biggest change that I've had to get used to, and I'm still not used to it. I'm still not used to the body that I'm in. And that's not a bad thing. I do plan on becoming a lot more accustomed to the size body that I'm in. So I am going to put some pictures up here. 2 pictures. I am putting up a before and an after. And again, this is the only time I will do this, but I wanted to possibly talk to anybody out there who is either considering this or has already done it or is at a stage in your life where you need to make a life change. This is why I did it. Here's my before. One of the things that I've noticed is people that meet up with me after probably months or maybe even a year or two of not seeing me, and the absolute shock and concern on their faces. Here's my after. And so when people see me compared to what I used to be, it's a completely different person. And even my general practitioner, I saw her after about a year, and she couldn't stop staring at me. And this is a doctor I've had for many years, and I really love her, and we chat like friends. And she said, "You're a different person." And I said, "I know." And so we started to talk about the medical things, and she was just sincerely happy for me. And here's another thing I did want to talk about that has made me quite uncomfortable. There are other people on BookTube. There are people on YouTube. There are memes on Facebook. There are videos everywhere of people who have lost an astounding amount of weight without surgery and without injections. And for some reason, that has been a concept that is put out there as the best way to lose weight, that I didn't have to resort to surgery, and I did it naturally, and I did it without injections. And that's the word that bothers me. I did it naturally. Well, there came a point in my life where I had tried for decades to lose it, quote unquote, naturally. And you can agree or disagree with me, but addiction and obesity is a medical condition. When you've spent your entire life battling your weight and battling your health concerns, and you just can't do it. You can't eliminate food from your life. You need it to survive. I absolutely could have eliminated all of the sugars I was eating, but I was addicted. And there are times I still think I'm addicted, and there are plenty that I avoid because of it. So when a person says I lost all the weight naturally, it makes me sad, because there are all types of ways that people can improve their health. And if somebody determines that their surgery is right for them, or medicine or injections is right for them, then leave them alone. Leave us alone, and let us make the choice that's best for us and for our lives. Here's some things that happen after gastric bypass surgery or bariatric surgery. These are some of the things that may or may not be so pleasant. You lose some hair. And I already had thin hair and thinning hair from alopecia, so I did lose some more hair, but it's starting to fill back in. I still have my cowlick. You do have a lot of loose skin. Even if you lose 95 pounds like I did, I didn't have to lose 200 pounds. I still have loose skin in places. I have to sit in padded chairs. I can't sit in a wooden chair for very long because there's no padding on my behind anymore. My armpits, this is TMI a little bit, but my armpits are like a black hole. So it's not like I can get in the shower and shave my armpits, because it's like a hole in there. It's like a very big depression. So there's alternate ways to get rid of armpit hair if you choose to do that. What else? My shoe size went down. It's like, well, wait a minute. A lot of my shoes don't fit anymore. My eyeglass prescription changed, not drastically, but it did. I have a much thinner face. So there are parts of a person's body where you lose weight the fastest. My face and some other parts of my body, I lose weight the fastest. So that was very visually obvious. I have always had a heart-shaped face with a pointy chin and a bigger head, and I like to think it's because of the brain power, but it became much more obvious. I had to get different types of glasses because the other ones were too big for my face. And so I've tried, these are a fairly new pair of glasses, and they're a much smaller size. All of those types of things. One of the fun things is clothes shopping. So I've got a whole new wardrobe. Along the way, you lose weight so fast, but I can wear jeans every day to work. So I would buy 2 pairs of jeans at my sizes that I ended up in. And I didn't buy a lot of clothes for any size until I got to the point where I knew this is where I was going to stay, whether I had to gain a few pounds back or not. So My family it's been an interesting journey for them as well, because for both of my daughters, I have been overweight their entire lives. And so when I started to lose a lot of weight, it was a little difficult for them to get accustomed to my changing body. And now they're just happy I'm healthy. I keep them up to date with my reports from my doctors, and they're very happy about that. So the important thing for the people in your life, if they are also struggling with weight, every person is beautiful at any stage that they are at. It's not about the visual, it's not about the image, it's about your self-confidence and your health. So for anybody in your life, offer your support and love and acceptance at all stages. And it's just a show of your compassion, your regard, and your love for that other person. 100% support. Let me know in the comments below if any of this benefited you. If you didn't think I should have posted this video, that's okay. If you were glad I posted this video. And I just want to say, for everybody that sent me supportive comments and compliments, I so appreciate you. Thank you so much for reaching out. Thank you so much for everything you said. And that's the best thing about this community on BookTube is just all the acceptance and all the love from all different directions. So thank you so much, and I'll see you all in the next video. Bye, everybody.
Feels great. You're doing core. We want to be able to get down on the floor and up off the floor. Holy hell. We want to be able to get down on the floor and up off the floor as we get older. Ain't nobody get time.